The night was calm, yet there was a heavy feeling in the air. In a distant city, tragedy struck without warning. The sound of sirens filled the streets. People ran for safety, and families clung to each other with fear in their eyes. No one expected such pain to come so suddenly, and in that moment the world felt broken. Among the countless voices of grief, 3 names began to rise in the news and in the whispers of people everywhere. Sundar Pichai, Donald Trump, and Dr. S. Jaishankar. 3 men from very different worlds. 3 men who had walked separate paths, but fate had chosen to pull them together on this one night of sorrow. As dawn came, television screens showed images of destroyed streets and shaken lives. Questions filled the air. How could this happen? Who would lead? Who would speak for the people? Many felt anger, many felt hopelessness, and yet, somewhere deep inside, the world waited for a voice of calm, for someone to remind them that even in darkness, humanity could stand tall. Pichai was the first to speak, though not in a grand hall or before cameras. He sat in a small room, his eyes tired but filled with empathy, and he spoke gently to a group of children who had lost their parents. "I cannot take away your pain," he said softly, "but I promise you are not alone. The world is watching you, and the world will stand with you." The children cried, but they also held his hand, and that simple act began to spread a message far beyond the room. In another corner of the world, Trump prepared to face an angry crowd. Many expected him to respond with force, with words that would divide. But when he stood before the people, something unexpected happened. His voice was not loud but steady. "This is not a time for anger," he said. "This is a time for unity. Every mother, every father, every child, no matter where they are from, feels the same tears today. We must not push each other away. We must come closer." The crowd, restless at first, slowly grew quiet. Jaishankar arrived later that day. He was known for diplomacy, for choosing words with precision, but this tragedy did not ask for political skill. It asked for heart. Standing before grieving families, he bent down, touched the hands of the elders, and said, "We cannot erase what has happened, but we can choose how to carry it. We can carry it with hate, or we can carry it with love. Let us carry it with love." His words were simple, but they touched deeply, because they came from a place of respect. For the first time in many days, people from different nations, from different beliefs, began to feel the same heartbeat. The news carried the images of Pichai holding the children, Trump calming the crowd, and Jaishankar bowing in humility. 3 different men, 3 different ways, but one single truth. Humanity could heal if it remembered kindness. Yet, even as the world listened, a shadow still moved silently. Behind the kindness, there were forces that wanted anger to grow. There were leaders who believed division brought power, and there were whispers that this tragedy was not an accident, but a message. The people did not know this yet. But the journey of Pichai, Trump, and Jaishankar was only beginning. They would face trials far greater than this first night. They would be tested by lies, by betrayal, and by the weight of millions of hearts watching them. But in this moment, in the ruins of grief, they had lit the first small flame, and that flame, though fragile, was powerful enough to remind everyone of a forgotten truth. When tragedy strikes, humanity must rise together. The morning after the tragedy, the world had not yet found rest. Streets were still covered with dust. Families searched for loved ones, and fear was heavy in every eye. But there was also a strange silence, the kind of silence that comes before either peace or storm. The news channels replayed the 3 powerful images: Pichai holding the children, Trump calming the restless crowd, and Jaishankar bowing to the elders. These pictures spread faster than any fire. Social media was flooded with comments, some filled with hope, others with doubt. Some said, "This is the face of unity," while others whispered, "Words will not rebuild homes." Pichai, though tired, refused to stop. He spent the entire night meeting young volunteers. Many of them had nothing, yet they carried food in their hands to give away. He looked at them with tears in his eyes and said, "This is what real wealth looks like. It is not money, it is kindness." Those words were caught on a phone camera, and within hours, millions watched them. People who had lost everything began to feel that maybe they had not lost the most important thing: hope. At the same time, Trump faced his own challenge. His advisors urged him to change his message, to speak of strength and retaliation because anger often gathers quick support. But Trump surprised even his closest circle. He said firmly, "Strength is not about striking back. Strength is about protecting those who cannot protect themselves." Many expected him to be harsh, yet he chose softness, and that softness struck harder than any wall of steel. Jaishankar worked quietly, but his actions were no less powerful. He visited hospitals, not as a leader in a suit, but as a man carrying water and blankets. The doctors were shocked to see him bend down to wipe the forehead of an injured boy. One nurse whispered, "Leaders do not do this." But Jaishankar looked up and replied gently, "Then they are not leaders. They are only rulers." Those words cut deep, and once again, respect grew where despair had been. Yet as the world started to see the light, darker questions rose. Investigators found traces suggesting the tragedy might not have been natural. Broken pieces of evidence pointed to human hands, to a plan hidden in shadows. Whispers spread that someone powerful wanted chaos, someone who gained from division. In private, Pichai, Trump, and Jaishankar were told of these findings. The room was tense. Pichai's hands trembled as he thought of the children. Trump's face grew heavy as he realized the cost of truth. Jaishankar closed his eyes, taking a deep breath, and said, "If this was planned, then we face not just grief, but evil. And evil must be answered, not with revenge, but with unity stronger than their hate." The three men, so different in nature, looked at each other in silence. They knew that the next steps would not only test them as individuals, but would also test the faith of millions. Would they stand together, or would pressure tear them apart? The world was watching, waiting for the answer. And as night fell once more, the whispers grew louder. There were unseen forces moving in the dark, ready to break the fragile flame that had just been lit. But in the heart of tragedy, one truth was becoming clear. When leaders choose humility over power, they remind humanity of its true strength. The night after the discovery, fear returned to the streets. People began to whisper not only about loss, but about betrayal. If this tragedy was caused by human hands, then who was behind it? Neighbors looked at neighbors with doubt, and nations looked at each other with suspicion. Pichai sat alone in his room, staring at the faint glow of his phone screen. Messages flooded in from across the world. Some called him a hero, some begged him to take charge, while others accused him of speaking empty words. He felt the weight of their voices pressing on his chest. He remembered the faces of the children he had comforted, and he whispered to himself, "I cannot let their pain be used as fuel for hate." But he knew the battle ahead would not be fought with kindness alone. It would be fought with courage. Trump was facing his own storm. Powerful voices within his circle demanded action. They wanted him to point a finger, to declare an enemy, to turn grief into anger. One advisor told him, "If you do not act strong, you will lose the people." Trump stood still, then slowly shook his head. "Losing the people is not when they turn away from me," he said. "Losing the people is when they turn away from each other." For a moment, silence filled the room. Even those who doubted him realized they were hearing a side of him few had seen before. Jaishankar worked quietly but firmly. He held private talks with leaders of nearby nations. Many of them were ready to close their borders, fearing the tragedy would spread. Jaishankar reminded them gently, "If you close your borders, you may protect your land, but you will bury your humanity. And if humanity dies, no border will save us." His words, calm yet sharp, broke through the fear of many leaders. Slowly, one by one, they agreed to send help rather than turn away. But behind the scenes, a darker game was unfolding. Evidence pointed to a network of men who thrived on chaos. These men had money, power, and influence. To them, suffering was not tragedy but opportunity. They spread lies through whispers and screens, hoping to turn people against each other. And soon, those lies reached the streets. Rumors began that one nation was responsible. Mobs started to rise, fueled not by truth but by anger. Shops were broken, families were threatened, and the fragile flame of unity flickered dangerously. When Pichai heard of the riots, he rushed to the streets himself. Cameras followed him as he walked into the crowd without guards, raising his hand. The crowd shouted, pushed, and some even threw stones. But Pichai did not move back. Instead, he said loudly, "If you want to fight, then fight me. But if you want to heal, then stand beside me." His words stunned the crowd. A man in the front dropped the stone in his hand. A woman began to cry. One by one, voices of anger turned into silence. And that silence was more powerful than any weapon. Trump too faced crowds that wanted someone to blame. But instead of standing on a stage, he walked into a local shelter. He sat with mothers and fathers who had lost everything. When one man shouted, "What will you do for us?" Trump did not answer with promises. He simply held the man's hand and said, "I will stand with you until you are not alone." That moment, captured by a single photograph, spread across the world like a wave. Jaishankar, hearing of both men's actions, smiled quietly. He knew that true leadership was not in speeches, but in presence. Still, he also knew the danger was not over. He gathered both Pichai and Trump in a private meeting. The room was dim, their faces heavy with the weight of what was to come. "The truth is clear," Jaishankar said softly. "This tragedy was planned, but the world does not yet know by whom. If we reveal this too soon, chaos will swallow us. If we hide it too long, lies will grow stronger. We must walk a path that balances truth with peace." The three men sat in silence, each knowing that their every move would shape the fate of millions. Outside, the world waited. Some prayed, some doubted, but all watched closely. And as shadows grew darker, the question became louder. Could three men from different lands truly hold back a storm designed to divide humanity? The meeting between Pichai, Trump, and Jaishankar stretched deep into the night. Maps covered the table. Reports filled with unanswered questions lay scattered around them, and every page carried a single message. The tragedy was not an accident. Pichai leaned forward, his voice heavy but steady. "If people discover that powerful hands planned this, anger will burn like fire. We must be careful. One wrong word, and the fragile trust we have built will fall apart." His eyes carried the memory of the children he had held. Trump crossed his arms, struggling with his own thoughts. He was a man known for boldness, for quick declarations, but this time he paused. People want answers. If we stay silent, they will say we are weak. If we speak too soon, they will destroy each other before the truth is clear. We are walking on glass. Jaishankar closed his eyes for a moment, then spoke softly. "The world does not need fire now. It needs water, but water must be guided or it will flood." He looked at both men with calm certainty. "We must be the guides." The next morning, the three men stood together for the first time before the cameras. The world watched in silence as their faces filled the screens. Pichai spoke first. "We are not here to blame. We are here to heal. I ask every mother, father, and child, do not let fear decide your heart. Let kindness decide," Trump followed. His voice was firm, but this time without pride. "This is not about nations. This is about people. No matter where you come from, no matter what language you speak, your pain is the same. Your tears are the same. And our duty is the same, to protect each other," Jaishankar ended the statement. "The truth will come. And when it does, we will face it together. But until then, let us not fight shadows. Let us hold hands in the light." Those words traveled faster than any plane, carried into homes across the globe. Many cried, many felt strength return, but the hidden hands behind the tragedy grew restless. They wanted division, and instead they saw unity rising. So they struck again, not with weapons, but with lies. Fake messages spread through screens, claiming that one of the three leaders was betraying the others. Some said Pichai was using the tragedy for business. Others claimed Trump was secretly blaming nations in private. And still others whispered that Jaishankar was hiding the real truth. The world, already fragile, began to shake. Protests broke out in different cities. People shouted names, pointed fingers, and the old anger threatened to rise again. When Pichai heard of the lies, he felt his heart sink. "They are not attacking us," he told his team quietly. "They are attacking the hope we represent." Trump, known for defending himself loudly, surprised everyone. This time he refused to fight back with anger. Instead, he simply said, "Judge me not by rumors, but by the hand I give you, and I promise I will not pull it away." Jaishankar worked carefully, reaching out to leaders across continents. "Do not listen to the whispers," he told them. "Look at the actions. Unity is not built on perfect men. It is built on flawed men who choose to do good." Slowly, the protests lost strength. Slowly, the lies lost their fire. But the shadowy forces grew desperate. They realized words alone would not divide the world. And so they began to prepare something darker, something larger, something that would shake not only one city but many nations. Unaware of the scale of danger ahead, the three men continued their journey. They traveled together to meet survivors, to share meals with families who had lost everything, to bow in silence before graves. Their presence carried weight, not because they were leaders, but because they chose to walk among the broken, and everywhere they went. One truth grew stronger. Humanity can be wounded, but it cannot be destroyed when kindness stands guard. But as the sun set that evening, a secret message reached them. It was short, chilling, and clear. The tragedy was only the beginning. "The storm is coming." The secret message spread a chill through the room. Pichai read it again and again, his heart heavy. Trump clenched his fists, his jaw tight with frustration. Jaishankar, calm as ever, simply placed the note on the table and said, "Whoever sent this does not want to scare us. They want to break us before the storm even begins." Outside, the world was slowly healing. Families were rebuilding homes, strangers were helping strangers, and hope was beginning to grow again. But under that fragile surface, the storm was gathering. The next morning, chaos erupted. Power grids in 3 major cities collapsed at the same time. Hospitals lost electricity, schools shut down, and streets were filled with confusion. In some places, food supplies were suddenly blocked and fear returned with force. People turned once again to the 3 men. Cameras followed their every step, waiting for a sign of leadership. Pichai went straight to the children's shelters. He walked into the dark halls lit only by candles. He held the children close, telling them, "The light will return, but until it does, we will be each other's light." Those words, spoken in the dark, became a symbol. Within hours, volunteers across the country lit candles in the streets, not just for light, but for hope. Trump chose to walk into one of the hospitals where the power had failed. Doctors and nurses were panicking as machines shut down. Instead of giving orders, Trump rolled up his sleeves and carried stretchers with them. The sight of him working side by side with ordinary people shocked everyone watching. One nurse whispered through her tears, "He could be anywhere, but he chose to be here." Jaishankar took a different path. He called world leaders and urged them to send generators, medical supplies, and food. Many hesitated at first, afraid of becoming targets themselves, but Jaishankar's words were steady. "If you do not act now, tomorrow it will be your people. Today we help them, tomorrow they will help you." Humanity is not a game of nations. It is one body. When one part bleeds, the whole body suffers. One by one, leaders agreed, and soon planes carrying aid filled the skies. But even as unity returned, the dark network struck harder. False reports spread across screens, claiming that the outages were caused by rival nations. Mobs began to form once again. In one city, 2 groups clashed violently in the streets. When news reached Pichai, Trump, and Jaishankar, they knew words alone would not stop it. They decided to appear together in the very city where violence had begun. As they entered the streets, stones and shouts filled the air. The crowd was boiling with anger. But then, in an act that no one expected, Pichai stepped into the middle of the fighting groups and sat on the ground silently. Trump followed, folding his arms, not as a challenge, but as a sign of stillness. Jaishankar knelt beside them, his eyes closed in calm. The crowd stared in shock. Leaders were supposed to shout, to command, to divide. But here, 3 powerful men sat quietly in the dirt, refusing to move until the people calmed themselves. Slowly, the shouting grew weaker. Slowly, stones were dropped. Slowly, silence returned. And in that silence, something unshakable was born, the realization that true strength was not in fists or guns, but in the courage to sit down when the world wanted you to stand and fight. Yet the storm was far from over. Late that night, a voice on the news announced something that sent shivers through the globe. This was only a test. The next strike will not bring darkness to 3 cities. It will bring darkness to the world. The fragile flame of hope flickered again. Could 3 men, however determined, truly stand against a storm this large? The warning spread across every channel, every phone, every street. The next strike will not bring darkness to 3 cities. It will bring darkness to the world. Panic grew like fire. Supermarkets were emptied, banks were rushed, and families locked their doors in fear. Pichai, Trump, and Jaishankar gathered once again in a quiet room. The air was heavy with silence. Each man knew that the decisions they made in the next hours could decide not just one nation's fate, but the fate of the entire world. Pichai spoke first. His voice was steady but filled with emotion. They want us to believe humanity is weak. They want us to believe we cannot stand together. If we surrender to fear now, they win without striking a single blow. Trump leaned forward, his eyes sharp. Fear is stronger than bombs. I have seen crowds fall apart because of one rumor. But I have also seen those same crowds rise when they feel hope. We must give them more than speeches. We must show them with action. Jaishankar, calm as always, placed both hands on the table. The storm is not only against us. It is against humanity itself. If we fight as 3 men, we will lose. If we fight as one voice of humanity, we can win. Their plan was simple yet bold. They would not hide behind walls. They would go directly to the people, not through screens, not through prepared speeches, but by walking among them in the hours before the storm. That very evening, the 3 men appeared in the heart of the largest square, where thousands had gathered in fear. The night sky was heavy with clouds, as if the storm was already watching. Pichai stood first. They want us to forget who we are. But look around you. You are mothers, fathers, children, brothers, sisters. Do not forget your humanity, no matter what happens tonight. Trump followed. His voice echoed through the square. They want us to fight each other. But let me tell you, no enemy can defeat a people who refuse to fight their own. The strongest shield is not steel. It is unity. Then Jaishankar stepped forward, his words like calm water flowing over stone. We do not know what will happen tomorrow. We cannot promise there will be no pain. But we can promise this. If we hold hands, if we do not let go, the storm will pass and humanity will remain. A hush fell over the crowd. Then, slowly, people began to join hands. Strangers who had once looked at each other with suspicion now held tightly, as if their very lives depended on it. Thousands of hands linked together, forming a chain of hope. But even as this light spread, the storm struck. Power grids across entire continents shut down. Planes were grounded, phones went silent, and in many places, darkness swallowed the night. Fear roared back like thunder. Yet in that very square, something remarkable happened. Instead of running, the people began to light candles. One by one, tiny flames rose against the dark sky. Soon the square glowed like a sea of stars, and the message was clear. The storm could bring darkness, but it could not take away their light. Pichai, Trump, and Jaishankar stood together, their faces illuminated by the flickering candles. They had no weapons, no armies, no shields. But in that moment, they had something far greater, the united heart of humanity. Still, the network behind the storm had not yet revealed its full force. Hidden in the shadows, they prepared their most dangerous move, one that would test not just leaders, but every human being alive. The storm was no longer coming. It was here. The world stood in darkness. Cities silent, planes grounded, phones useless, screens blank. It felt as if time itself had stopped. People looked up at the night sky with fear, waiting for the next blow. The shadowy network had made its move. Their message was clear. Without us, there is no order. Without us, there is no future. They wanted humanity to surrender, to believe that chaos was natural and unity was impossible. But in the candlelit square, the chain of humanity held strong. Thousands of people, hand in hand, refused to let fear break them. The sight of those tiny flames spread faster than any broadcast, because even without electricity, hope traveled from heart to heart. Pichai stood among the people, his voice gentle yet firm. Look around you. Do you see leaders here? Do you see nations here? No, you see humanity. They wanted us to believe we are powerless. But the truth is here. We are the power. Trump raised his hand, his tone filled with rare humility. No storm, no lie, no shadow can defeat a people who refuse to kneel to fear. Strength is not in walls. Strength is in hands joined together. Tonight, we are unbreakable. Jaishankar stepped forward, his calm voice carrying like a river in the silence. They told us the world would end in darkness. But tonight the world answers with light. Every candle is a promise. Every hand is a shield. And together, we will not fall. And then something extraordinary happened. Across the globe, people began to copy what they saw. In small villages, families lit fires in the streets. In great cities, crowds gathered in parks with lanterns. On beaches, people placed torches in the sand. Mountains glowed, rivers shone, and deserts flickered with light. The storm had wanted to plunge humanity into fear. Instead, it had united the world in a way no one had seen before. The network, watching from the shadows, realized their greatest weapon had failed. For the first time, they saw humanity not divided by borders or flags, but joined as one family. Their lies crumbled. Their power shrank, and their silence became their defeat. In the weeks that followed, electricity slowly returned, supplies flowed again, and order was restored. But people were changed forever. They had seen with their own eyes that unity was stronger than chaos, that kindness was stronger than fear, and that even in the darkest storm, humanity could shine. Pichai returned to the children he had once comforted. This time, their eyes carried not only sadness, but also strength. He knelt down and said, "You are the reason the world stood together. Never forget that your courage matters." Trump visited the hospitals again, this time greeted not with panic but with smiles. Doctors thanked him, families hugged him, and he said quietly, "I did not save you. We saved each other." Jaishankar walked through the shelters where strangers had become family. He looked around and said, "Leaders do not build unity. People do, and the people have taught the world a lesson no storm will ever erase." As months passed, the story of the storm became a legend. Children would hear it as a tale. Parents would repeat it as a lesson, and history would record it as a moment when humanity was reminded of its true strength. Because in the end, tragedy did not destroy, it revealed. It revealed that respect could heal wounds, that humility could calm storms, that resilience could light darkness, and that kindness could unite the world. And though Pichai, Trump, and Jaishankar returned to their separate paths, the memory of their courage lived on. They had not fought as three powerful men. They had fought as three human beings who believed in the power of humanity, and the world, once broken by tragedy, had risen again, not as nations, but as one people.